Welcome, everybody, to AI Maturity Across the Analyze, Optimize, Act Cycle, a synopsis presentation of NinjaCat's recent original research report, The Next Phase of Marketing Intelligence. I'm Jake Sanders, black tea drinker, content marketing manager, and host of the NinjaCat podcast, What Gets Measured. I want to thank everybody for being here. Today, we're going to be moving in 4 parts. First, I'll cover the methodology behind the research, introduce the analyze, optimize, act cycle, and then I'll cover the confidence numbers, findings from the survey that show what leaders believe about their AI readiness. Second, we'll cover the contradictions, what shows up when you look closer at the data. Third, I'll explain the bottlenecks, where we zero in on the discrepancies and friction points in the data to find out, fourth, what good looks like, what the AI mature, I'm putting quotes in the air, highest performing teams are doing differently. And then we'll open it up for questions. So let's get into it. During Q1, we partnered with User Evidence to survey 532 marketing leaders across agencies and enterprise brands. The goal was simple: understand how teams are actually using AI right now, backed by third-party verified survey data. There's a mixture of SVPs and leadership in the respondents, as well as a mixture of B2B and B2C, all of whom completed the in-depth 33-question survey about operations, marketing data management, and AI. One of the high-level takeaways from the report is that access to data isn't as big of a bottleneck as the ability to act on it as a team, let alone an organization. Greater AI adoption has the potential to close this gap, but as we'll see, few have reached the maturity to do so. Another proof point this survey brought out was identifying the analyze, optimize, act cycle and seeing how marketing teams that are succeeding with AI are working through this loop. According to the findings, the AI mature orgs are operating from this cycle, not alongside it. They have the ability to analyze data across channels, optimize campaigns across teams, and execute changes across platforms. When data and tools are disconnected, like we'll see shortly, the loop slows down or never even fires up. So let's dive in to my consolidated take on the report and start with the confidence numbers. What teams believe about their AI readiness. At first glance, the data looks strong. 91% of respondents say AI has streamlined their workflows. Pretty good. 85% are satisfied with their data visibility. 83% feel that they can analyze data quickly. If you zoom out, the data shows that teams feel fast, informed, and when I compiled the figures about clear benchmarks, it seems like 75% of respondents have those locked down. And if you stopped here, you'd conclude marketing teams are more than ready for AI. But let's pause for a poll. How confident are you in your team's data readiness for AI? Very confident, somewhat confident, not very confident. We haven't assessed it yet. Oh, this is great. I'm loving this. Making live data here, it seems. Here we go. Somewhat confident. Hey, it would be silly to be too confident here, but I think that's great. Who can argue with that? Oh, I'm going to share. Can I share the results? Nice. Okay, cool. So I'll close that. This is awesome. So we're going to have a couple more polls. Thank you for participating. I'd say somewhat confident is probably the best answer because sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Let's get into this second part where we talk about the contradictions in the research when I pushed deeper into the same data. So let's start with these workflows. According to the survey, 91% of respondents say AI has streamlined them, but 72% admitted reporting is still highly manual. It's the same survey. It's the same answer group. Two completely different realities. It gets more concrete. 77% of respondents say that data prep alone takes 3 to 10 hours per report. So the question becomes, what exactly is streamlined? Because the most time consuming part of the process is still manual. Next contradiction is 85% said they have strong data visibility. But the majority also said that data is fragmented across platforms and spreadsheets. Just how can these two things really coexist? What this suggests to me is that people might be answering based on what they believe about their setup, not the lived experience of working inside it. Another related data point that felt contradictory is reconciling data inconsistencies was reported as a significant time drain. Hmm. And this, to me, is the most important contradiction if we're talking about AI maturity. What type of AI is in use? 66% said they're using generic off the shelf AI, the co pilots that they find in platforms. Only 16% of respondents are using AI connected to their own data. In a different section of the survey, when asked which reporting use cases AI is good for, the top answer was identifying optimization opportunities. This requires context, KPIs, benchmarks, naming conventions, client nuance. A generic AI doesn't have that. So, what you're getting back is an answer, but not necessarily the right answer for your situation. There's an assumption in a lot of AI adoption right now that the tool will do the contextualizing for you. But if you haven't connected it to your data and how your team actually operates, you're asking it to make decisions in the dark. It's time for another poll. Where does your team spend the most time in reporting? Is it yanking the data out of the clouds, building these reports, analyzing and interpreting results, or distributing and communicating findings? Let's see, where is that poll? Did the poll show up? Oh, I I took it. I have to launch it. Oh no. Now I'm driving too intensely. How do I launch the poll? We're doing this live. There is a poll. Maybe just chat it in here, put A, B, C, or D. Why don't I have this poll? Rianne, help. Oh my God. Tara, thank you. Of course it is. All that data. How are we going to get it out? Thank you, Ashanti. This is us building it. It takes a village to get this poll going. Yes, thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Aaron. This is awesome. And that's what I'm saying. There is no right answer here. Everybody has their own time sinks. Nice. Thank you, Pablo. Really appreciate it. Oh, good, good, good. Okay, we got a sense of something here. Okay, good. I think I made my way around this. I'm sorry I clicked that button, but I think we're still making data. Um, that's awesome. I would say that there is no right or wrong answer. Every team has their own place where they need to kind of find it. It's nice to have people that know where they're spending time. Some people don't even know where that is, and that's why they don't know about these bottlenecks. The third part here I want to dial into is bottlenecks. This is where everything I think clicks into place. Just 8% of the marketing leaders we surveyed are using AI to orchestrate workflows across tools and teams. This 8%, as far as this report can demonstrate, represents the ceiling of AI maturity right now. What's interesting is the capability for AI maturity has less to do with the tech itself, though it's important. AI maturity requires that the team is already coordinated, shared definitions, shared context, clear ownership. AI doesn't create that structure, it can only operate inside it. The AI mature teams didn't get here necessarily because they adopted better AI, they were already built for the next level. Now, put that next to this. If only 8% are at the high watermark of AI maturity with centralized data as the operating system for agents, how is it that 80%? Oh, there it is. It's back. Okay, here's the poll. I'm going to close it. Okay, sorry. Um, so put that 8% number next to this 80%. 80% said they're comfortable with AI automating live campaign changes. A few slides back, we saw that most teams are still dealing with fragmented data, manual reporting, and disconnected tools. It's a it's a pretty significant confidence gap. If you wouldn't trust a junior analyst working from messy data to make real time, yes, thank you, Rianne. If you can't trust a junior analyst with messy data, the same logic should apply to the tech that you're using. There's there's a pattern across this. Teams think they have a data problem, maybe access or, engagement, but the research seems to show it's a coordination problem as well. Only 7% mentioned coordination as a bottleneck, and just 14% felt measuring the impact of changes was a barrier. In my mind, and according to the answers previously given, the numbers here should be higher. Does this mean that 93% have solved cross team coordination? Or is it more likely that they just can't see this? The data work must be really intense, heavy enough to mask that insight that cross team coordination and postmortems are key aspects of determining if campaigns succeed, key in that analyze, optimize, act cycle. Another odd juxtaposition is if just a mere 7% just said cross team coordination was not an issue, how is it that 28% are looking for stronger team collaboration? Seeing that 32% of respondents want less tools, I'm wondering how much of that tooling is preventing coordination. When I looked at this data and thought about the client success stories I've heard about AI agents on the podcast, here at NinjaCat, I came to this conclusion. When AI is mature, when a team is mature and coordinated, the tools matter less. In a way, before adding tech, the relationships in AI mature orgs are almost thought of as a platform in themselves. Time for another poll. This one's going to work. What's the biggest operational bottleneck on your team right now? Pulling that data, coordinating that team, measuring those impacts, or just too many tools? You can answer them in the poll itself now. We're making real data. I mean, and it could be all of them. It could, and here again, it's nice to have an audience that has a sense of where their time is being wasted, where their bottlenecks are. Some people don't even have the wherewithal to answer these questions. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, I would say cross team coordination. The silos are still here. Um, all right. So let's move on. Thank you for that. I'm not going to touch the poll. I think we've done good. We're moving on. Um, let's move on to the last part. This what good looks like. We talked about that 8%. What is it that they have? So AI is a powerful amplifier. Yeah, I'm not saying anything. This isn't breaking news. The question is, what is it amplifying? What I took away from this report was that AI maturity is actually organizational maturity. If a team is fragmented, AI speeds that up. If the team's aligned, AI compounds that advantage. There are three principles the research points to that help define the AI mature agencies and brands. The 8% that have tethered their AI use to centralized data and are orchestrating agentic transformations across their organization. The first principle: leadership seems to set the standard. As we covered earlier, AI maturity is a reflection of organizational maturity. For the 8%, teams rise to the level leadership expects, allows, and invests in. This guides how teams engage, execute, and leverage AI along the analyze, optimize, act cycle, which is made easier because the second principle, they're operating from a shared source of directional truth. I think it's important to say the word directional. The most AI mature teams we see in the report seem to be defined by where they operate from. Shared surface, one data layer, one place to align, decide, and act from. Lastly, AI mature teams treat coordination like infrastructure. Like I said, relationships are thought of as a platform. Coordination isn't a recurring meeting. It's not a value statement. It's something that is intentionally designed, maintained, and owned. Most teams are still waiting for the right tool to make that easier. The 8% didn't wait. They built the conditions first, and then the tools actually worked. It's just a personal aside on the platform. This is the problem NinjaCat was built around, not just consolidating data, but giving teams a shared surface to coordinate and act from. Our own marketing team has access to the AI agents in NinjaCat, and one of them, Presentation Patty, allowed me to take the research report, all the quant and qual data from the survey, my own extemporaneous analysis, pair that with graphic design instructions given in plain language, and after collaborative sessions with team members, we created this single page web presentation for this webinar. It's a tiny example of the analyze, optimize, act cycle at work. It would have been much more time consuming and a drain if we didn't have the tech, but without a tight knit team, it would have been impossible. The research makes something very clear. Tools and technology only work if the team is ready for it. Last poll. How would you rate your team's cross functional coordination today? Is it strong? You got shared context? Is it decent? But sometimes the handoffs break down. Weak, still in silos, haven't really thought about it. I mean, that's, it depends. I mean, some people don't know they're in silos. I've spent a lot of time in a silo. You don't know. There's no windows in there. It's like a casino. Yeah, I would say that most of us are, maybe just there's one strong, charismatic bridge in between places. There's one manager type that likes to kind of bridge things. Yeah, handoffs are important. Yeah, but I love some people are working, some people are, aware. But thank you so much for having actual responses here. It's a wonderful thing. We're engaged. And I'll report all this too. I'll make content of this. All right. So, three things to take away from this. One, the confidence is so high, but the operational reality doesn't quite match. A lot of teams think they're ready for it, but the survey shows places where there's a disconnect. Two, the real bottleneck isn't just technology, it's also coordination. AI mature teams have the organizational infrastructure required to unlock and unblock barriers. It seems like they like to talk to each other too. And three, AI amplifies what's already there. If the data foundations and org is fragmented, technology isn't a transformation waiting to happen, but a trap. Gap between perceived readiness and actual readiness is where most teams are operating right now. And that gap is totally fixable, but only if you're honest about the data and curious about stronger coordination. You can get the full report from user evidence, all of this juicy stuff, and go deeper, breakdowns by org type, a deeper look at the analyze, optimize, act cycle, and what distinguishes that top 8% succeeding with AI. You can grab it at a link in the chat. We'll also send it out after the session. Well, thank you so much for being here. Let's have a little Q&A. 20 minutes. You're welcome. I got that wrapped up real nice and tight with a bow. So let's open up some Q&A if people have questions about coordination, about the report, or anything else. Let me look at the chat. What's the chat? All right. Okay. All right. Oh, no. Thank you. I see some people saying thanks. I see one. If your leadership isn't setting the standard for AI, how do you still make progress and develop? Hmm. Hmm. Am I supposed to have an answer for these questions? Well, no, after looking at this research, I would say it's rarely the case that there is like crystal clear leadership. It's more likely that teams, scrappy little teams, like what I was saying, that charismatic person, there's probably someone who isn't afraid to go in there and show some use cases and prove value. I would say just start where you can, within your team, easy lift experiments, maybe that you can take and show progress and secure energy and budget from leadership. Don't compare yourself to the top performers. Um, I would say just set your benchmarks locally, on your context, on your success metrics. Um, that's a good question. Mm, Any other ones I see here? What tooling setup are the mature teams using? Probably not just co-pilots. Yeah, right. No, yeah, I'm not actually sure. They might have a role or a place to use co-pilots. Um, but it seems like a platform that runs across multiple systems, model agnostic, um, something you can orchestrate across platforms, like we were saying above. You don't want to be too dependent on one provider or tool, but I think again, directional truth is the game here. Using the tools you have, um, uh, to just get a sense of things, and then have that be the place where you have conversations. Um, Let's see, here's one. Here we go. My company has been evaluating project-based AI solutions. How do you evaluate the needs from an enterprise level? Ooh, let's talk about it. Hmm. I mean, that's like a real project-based AI solutions. It would have to be dependent on not the channels, but like the again, I think it's something about the organizational structure. We would need to get a sense of how those operating reporting levels are working. Um, that's such a good question. I want to have so Lauren, I'm going to get back to you because that's a real question that we have a real answer to, and I don't. I do have Ashanti. I have a question for this. I'm not clear on what solution NinjaCat is offering. Can you share more about this? Sure. Um, NinjaCat is a place where you can consolidate a bunch of data, integrate a lot of connections. It was started as a franchise reporting platform, but it's modulated into sort of an orchestration intelligence layer. We have a model agnostic AI agent platform. It kind of is it's akin to what we were talking about with that shared centralized data. That is the specialty, and it works for scale. Larger agencies that are sending out thousands of reports, rolling them up, getting sense, using agents to build and create things. So, we're evolving, but of course, please check out the site, and we can tell more about how we can help in your specific instance. No, thank you. Ah, this is so great. um this is great. What if team coordination is a barrier? Teams don't align on their views on AI. Some people have strong opinions both ways about the AI thing. I think that is a hindrance sometimes. um I think you, I, I would, it could be coming from two places. It could be fear. Like if they don't want AI or they're against AI, all the people who want AI, it's very clear what they want. But if somebody's a little hesitant, it could be fear or it could just be a lack of time. I mean, like just what we were saying, coordination is hard, pooling data is hard. There's so many time constraints on this job. As far as reporting or, marketing data management, it could just be lack of time. A lot of people don't even have time to play around with this stuff. I think it's most likely the second one. There are, fears and concerns, but in a professional capacity, I think it's people need to find a way to set aside time, like time block. Um, that's what I would do. Set aside, like me and Rianne, we set aside every Thursday and we just play around and come with our problems and say, is there a way that we can make this, you know, better? starting with those painful moments. But I would suggest doing it in a tool in a team with, a comfortable place where you can be like, hey, let's have a real conversation. And then you can share that. But I would say the initial lift with AI is big, trying to get agent stuff together, trying to centralize data, trying to use all, it's hard in the beginning. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. But you have to be willing to give a big lift, set aside some time to do that. Um, all right. That's amazing. Uh, how do you evaluate the needs from an enterprise level? You know what? I would say here, I know. And Lauren, I got the answer. Save money, make money, mitigate risk. Three buckets to just look at ways you could save it, make it, or mitigate risk. Just maybe thinking of a higher level way to approach bigger things is probably the initial way to get in. Project based AI solutions, maybe those should be outcome dependent based solutions. Like what do you really want to get from it? Because the one thing I hear from clients who are signing on, some have a really clear idea what they want with AI, but a lot of them are still curious and don't know. So dive into those places, save money, make money, mitigate risk. That'd be my advice. Okay. All right. I love it. I'm happy. You know what? We'll end a little early. You people have been amazing. We're gonna consolidate all this and send you a recording. And then if you need to get the report, do it. If you have any questions, follow me on LinkedIn, follow NinjaCat. And if there isn't anything that we got to, we'll get to it soon. So anyway, on behalf of NinjaCat, Jake Sanders, have a wonderful day. Enjoy your coffee or tea.